Well, hey, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I know we have folks from all around the world joining us. My name is Kris Bennett. I am the Chief Learning Officer here at Blockchain Training Alliance, and I'm going to be the one speaking to you a little bit about blockchain and some of the amazing career opportunities that it's making available today. But I first want to start off just by saying thank you to everyone for making the time to join us. We got a nice big group here today, so I think we're going to have a lot of fun and have some good discussions along the way. So I really appreciate you guys carving a little bit of time out of your day to talk about blockchain and some of the amazing things that are going on right now. We're going to talk a little bit about growing your career through blockchain and Web3, some of the amazing opportunities that are out there, and why this is such an extraordinary time to be getting involved with this technology. We're going to talk a little bit about who we are, Blockchain Training Alliance, what we do. We're going to spend some time talking about what is blockchain, just some of the basics. I know that a lot of folks are probably new to this space and still trying to figure out exactly what blockchain is. You know, ironically enough, that can be one of the most difficult questions to answer in the world of blockchain. Just what is it and how does it work? So we'll spend a little bit of time talking about that. We'll talk a little bit about how the blockchain industry is exploding in growth right now. Some of the different roles available, what the job market looks like, and some of the skills that you're going to need to level up on if you want to jump into the world of blockchain and Web3. Then we have some wonderful guests joining us today. We have the folks from Bondex. Bondex is a job search board specifically for blockchain and Web3 positions. Can be a really great resource for folks who are looking to jump in and find a great opportunity. We're also fortunate enough to have the Edge of NFT podcast joining us today. Talk a little bit about the NFT crypto space and what's going on there. You know, unless you've been hiding under a rock these past couple of years, you've certainly heard about the explosive growth in the world of NFTs or non-fungible tokens. So we'll hear a little bit from the experts in that area, what's going on in their world. We'll talk a little bit about, if any of this interests you, what are some good next steps? How can you start to level up your skills? Get some of those, really hot in-demand skills that employers are looking for, and use this to be the springboard into the next step in your career. And then, of course, we're going to save plenty of time at the end, because anytime you talk about blockchain, this inevitably raises a lot of questions in people's minds. And so we'll have some time at the end for Q&A. So if anything we talk about raises a question in your mind, or you just want to explore a topic a little bit deeper, we will make sure to leave time for that. So let's go ahead and let's dive in, shall we? Who is BTA? Who is Blockchain Training Alliance? Well, Blockchain Training Alliance was founded in 2017 with the mission of educating technical and non-technical resources alike on the use of blockchain and Web3 technologies. And when we talk about Web3, we use that term very explicitly. If you think about the incredible growth that we have seen in the world of Web 1 and Web 2, we're poised to see all that again. And it really is hard to overstate how early in the game it is, how much opportunity there still is in front of us, and just what a great time this is to be jumping in. Blockchain Training Alliance, I'm proud to say, is the leading US-based blockchain training and education organization. We have trained over 150,000 students worldwide in blockchain and Web3 technologies. And like I said, there's so much opportunity in this space, not just for technical folks, developers, architects, admins, security resources, but there's also tremendous opportunity in the blockchain space for non-technical folks. And so that 150,000 students comprises a lot of non-technical resources as well. One of the greatest misconceptions in the world of blockchain is that you have to be someone deeply technical, someone who comes from a programming or development background to find any kind of opportunity. And that is absolutely not the case. And we'll look at a little bit later at some of that opportunity, what it looks like, some of the different roles available. We train students in over 71 countries around the world, and we've worked with a number of Fortune 500 companies to get their resources trained up on blockchain. And in my mind, admittedly, I'm a little bit biased, but in my mind, this is what makes our educational product such a tremendous value. We're not just out there talking about the technology, but we're also working with some of the world's largest companies who are implementing blockchain, talking about how this technology can help support their business and technology objectives, and crafting the education so that they can go out there and be successful. So you are not just learning the skills that we think are important, you're also learning the skills that the market is looking for and has a lot of demand for as well. Now, a little bit about me, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because I know nobody's here to hear about me. You guys are here to hear about blockchain. But just by way of introduction, like I said, my name is Kris Bennett, Chief Learning Officer here at Blockchain Training Alliance. And my journey into the world of blockchain began in earnest back in 2016. Prior to jumping into the world of blockchain, I spent a little over 20 years in the IT services consulting space. So I started off my career many years ago in programming and software development, moved into solution and enterprise architecture, product program management, and eventually into IT leadership. But the one common thread that ran through all those different roles is at the end of the day, to one degree or another, I was always the person to make sure that we delivered on time, on budget to happy customers. And so that meant a lot of cutting through a lot of the nonsense and double speak that sometimes comes along in technical conversations, and really being able to deliver valuable knowledge and results to our clients and customers. And that's the focus I've really tried to bring to the educational products here at BTA, distilling everything down to just what you need to know to go be successful, and cutting out a lot of the maybe the information that isn't so helpful. But like I said, my journey into blockchain really began in earnest about 6 years ago, back in 2016. When I first got exposed to blockchain, this was back in the early Bitcoin days. And everyone always asks, hey, did you make a big investment? And of course, the answer is no. Otherwise, I'd be coming to you from the deck of my private yacht sailing in the south of France. To be honest with you, I was fairly dismissive of blockchain technology in the early days because I had the same impression or initial response that many people do. I looked at blockchain and I said, aha, blockchain, I know exactly what that is. That's Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is digital money. And I came very much from a background in technology, not a background in finance or accounting or the world of money. And so I decided, well, I'll let the experts play in that sandbox, and I'll just stick to what I know and what I'm good at. And I went back in 2016 and I took a second look at blockchain, and I'm very glad that I did, because when I went back and I took that second look, immediately everything looked familiar. And what I mean by that is I'm a big believer that in the world of technology, we have two types of advancements, two types of ways that we can move forward. The first type is very common and pedestrian, happens all the time. These are what I refer to as our technological evolutions. And we see this happen in the world around us all the time. A technological evolution is simply when we take some existing piece of technology or functionality and we improve it, we make it better. And of course, better is a very subjective term. Better could mean faster or easier, cheaper, more standards compliant, more well-documented, more compatible. But the point is we take some existing piece of technology or functionality and improve it. But then every once in a while, it only seems to happen once every generation or so, something really magical happens. We have the second type of advancement, what I refer to as our technological revolutions. And a technological revolution is defined as some brand new piece of technology or functionality coming into the world that had no direct predecessor. And to me, someone who really enjoys and appreciates the intersection of technology and people, these are terribly fascinating events. They not only upend and redefine the world of technology and the enterprise space surrounding it, but they really leave no part of life untouched. And we can see this by looking back at some prior technological revolutions. We can go all the way back to Web 1, or the arrival of the internet. Look how many of us now in the year 2022 are making a living doing things that simply were not possible before the advent of the internet. Heck, we couldn't even be sitting here today on Zoom having this wonderful discussion that we're having. The internet not only redefined the world of technology and the enterprise space around it, but it had a significant impact on art, music, culture, spirituality, politics, entertainment, and more. A decade or so after the arrival of Web 1 came Web 2, and all of a sudden the internet became a two-way platform, a platform for conversation, the exchange of ideas. This was the birth of social media. Not only could you share your ideas with anyone in the world, but you could collect their feedback. And think how amazing it is today that any of us, any single one of us, could go on to Twitter and we could send a tweet directly to some of the most powerful or influential people in the world: the President of the United States, a famous celebrity, politician, athlete, entertainer, etc. Now, whether or not they respond is an entirely different matter, but the point being that just like Web 1 that came before it, Web 2 really revolutionized the world and left nothing about human society or culture untouched. And now we find ourselves at the beginning of the Web 3 era. Blockchain is a critical component of that basket of Web 3 technologies. And that, personally, is what got me very excited about blockchain and about Web 3, because for me, I've never been this early to the party. When Web 1 and Web 2 came around, everyone else had already had a chance to stake their claim, find the areas that interested them the most, and make contributions. Well, a lot of that white space is still unclaimed in the world of Web 3. And one of the greatest things about blockchain is you can really dive in and find the areas that interest you the most and become an expert and chart your own course and create your own opportunities. And so for us to be able to provide education and be a part of that, for me, is a terribly rewarding thing. Like I said, we're not here to talk about me, so let's move on and let's talk a little bit about what blockchain is. As I mentioned, ironically, this can be one of the most difficult questions to answer in the whole Web3 space. There are a lot of confusing explanations and a lot of people who seek to make this more technical or more difficult than it really needs to be. We talk about blockchain as an emerging technology. And that term, emerging technology, leaves you with the impression that it's very technically complex and difficult to understand. But one of blockchain's dirty little secrets is that it's really just a unique or novel combination of some of humanity's oldest and most well understood ideas. In fact, blockchain isn't even all that new. And to see this, we can go back and we can look at a simple story. We can look at the first record we've been able to find in human history of people using a decentralized ledger. And a blockchain is nothing more than just a type of decentralized ledger. And all this happened about 3,000 years ago on a tiny little island in the South Pacific known as Yap Island. Now, Yap Island is part of modern day Micronesia, but 3,000 years ago, there was something very, very interesting and unique going on Yap Island. You see, the Yapese people, they had coins, just like we have coins today. And they used those coins the same way we use our coins today, to make purchases, to settle debts or transfer value. In fact, there was only one significant difference between the coins that we use today and the coins that they used 3,000 years ago on Yap Island. And that difference was their physical size and composition. The coins that we use today are primarily small and metallic, and it's easy to fit a bunch of these into your pocket, go down to the market and do a little bit of shopping. but it wasn't quite that easy back on Yap Island. The coins that they used were called ray stones, and they were gigantic limestone coins. You can see a picture of this gentleman standing in front of one of these. The largest of these ray stones could be over 8 feet or 3 meters tall and weigh in excess of 8,000 pounds, which created a very unique problem, especially 3,000 years ago. And that unique problem is, how do you have a functioning economy? How do you have trade and finance and commerce in this world where your money can't be physically exchanged? Well, the solution to this problem was very novel, very ingenious, and it solved the problem quite well. The Yapese people decided to keep a decentralized mental ledger of ownership. Let me explain what I mean by that. What they did is they took each one of these ray stones and they put each one in a different significant or memorable place around the island. So imagine we all live on Yap Island. We might have one of these giant stone coins on the beach. We might have another one back there at the base of the forest. We might have one over there by the pond and one over there by the mountain, one here in the center of the village, and so on. And everybody in the island knew in their head which one of these coins belonged to whom. So let's say that we have two Yapese islanders, Alice and Bob. Alice is taking a stroll one day and she sees Bob out doing some work. Bob is out caring for his livestock. Bob is the rancher on the island. And Alice thinks to herself, you know, that looks like a pretty good way to make a living. Bob's getting lots of fresh air and sunshine, exercise, and Alice thinks to herself, that's a much better way to make a living than what I'm doing. I would like to buy Bob's ranch, take over his operation, and become the new rancher for the island. So Alice approaches Bob one day and she says to Bob, hey, Bob, I want to buy you out. You know, I own that stone over there by the pond, and I would be willing to give that to you as payment if you would sell me your ranch and your livestock. Bob considers the offer for a minute and immediately accepts it because he's been considering taking a retirement and maybe just relaxing on the beach. So once Alice and Bob have worked out this agreement between themselves, they simply stand up and announce it to the larger group. Everyone on the island then knows that that stone over there by the pond, that now belongs to Bob and not to Alice. Alice is the new owner of Bob's ranch, and she gets to be the rancher on the island. This is a decentralized ledger. The ledger simply contains ownership records of which one of these coins or stones belongs to whom. And it's decentralized because everybody participates in this process rather than having a centralized resource like a bank or a banker perform those activities. If you understand this basic story, and even better, if you feel like it's a story you could turn around and share with other people, friends, relatives, family members, co-workers, gym partners, and more, congratulations. You now understand all the basic principles that make blockchain work. Everything else on your blockchain journey from here on in is simply adding more detail to that very simple or basic narrative. Like I said, there are a lot of people trying to confuse this and making harder than it needs to be. But at its core, blockchain is a very, very simple technology to understand. And that's what makes it accessible to everybody, technical and non-technical people alike. Now, there's some interesting things happening in the world of blockchain right now. And I think maybe the best way to explain what's happening in the blockchain marketplace is to use the famous iceberg analogy, something that I'm sure all of you have heard about before. Of course, every iceberg is made up of two different parts. There is the tiny little part that sticks up above the water. It's visible when people talk about an iceberg, they point to that piece sticking up above the water. And that is generally what we think of when we think of an iceberg. Well, every iceberg also has a much more substantial and massive part that sits underneath the water line and is largely invisible, but is a much greater part of the overall mass of the iceberg. Well, right now, the blockchain world is a bit like that iceberg. We have this little piece sticking up above the water. And that is the area of blockchain that you hear so much about in news and media and culture. These are things like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, NFTs or non-fungible tokens, exchanges, securitization of blockchain assets, etc. Sort of what I term the consumer side of blockchain. But there's also this very large and substantial piece of the iceberg that sits underneath the waterline. It doesn't get quite as much attention. And that is what's happening in the world of enterprise blockchain. The Fortune 1000 space is racing to adopt blockchain as quickly as possible because blockchain can offer some significant advantages over conventional technology. One way that blockchain really adds value in this enterprise space is by acting as shared IT infrastructure between organizations. And in the enterprise space, this allows us to go out and do things that previously were not possible. Imagine that your company and my company want to team up and go build a great solution or service offering. Well, traditionally, what that has meant is that we can store all of our shared assets in my database that I own and I control and I have full administrative access to. Or we can keep all those assets in your centralized database that you own and you control and you have full access to. Sometimes if we're going to team up and work together, it makes a lot more sense if I don't own the infrastructure and you don't own it. And that's what blockchain is all about. That's what this idea of shared infrastructure between organizations really comes down to. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the opportunities, not only in the consumer side of blockchain, but also over in the enterprise space, what's happening underneath the waterline and how blockchain is really being adopted by some of the world's largest and most influential organizations to really affect and drive change out in the marketplace. But it might be helpful first to understand some potential use cases for blockchain. Now, of course, this is not a comprehensive list. This barely even scratches the surface, but it might be able to give you an idea of why blockchain is poised to be so revolutionary. One area where you hear about blockchain really making significant inroads and contributions is this idea of banking the unbanked. Right now, there are a little over 2 billion people around the world who do not have access to modern banking services. That is a significant amount of the world's population. We're approaching 8 billion people, and roughly a quarter of them, or 1 out of every 4 people on Earth, do not have access to modern banking services. And that makes life in the modern era very, very difficult. The reason why we see so many folks who do not have access to modern banking services is because in many of those instances, the cost of operating a branch in remote or developing areas of the world simply exceeds the amount of revenue that could be generated by offering those services. If there was a way to lower the cost of offering those services, we could extend those services to a significant portion of the world's unbanked. Blockchain is a great way to do that. You can use blockchain and Web3 technology because of its decentralized nature to offer goods and services into developing parts of the world very, very easily. Because blockchain networks use a peer-to-peer architecture, they are extremely resilient and fault tolerant. This means that blockchain creates an ideal solution architecture for deploying services into developing parts of the world where infrastructure may not be reliable, where the power may come and go, where network connectivity may not always be a given. And it's hard to imagine that any bank from your small little local bank or credit union all the way up to the largest titan banks of Wall Street, and anyone and everyone in between would turn their nose up at the long tail value of adding 2 billion new customers to their roster. That's some of the amazing potential that we see blockchain poised to unleash in the world. Another very interesting idea that blockchain enables is this idea that we might all be able to own our own data. Right now, we live in a world where so much of our personal data is owned by someone else, where someone else is the custodian. And a great example of this is the healthcare space. There are a number of silos that our healthcare information lives in. Right? Information about your dental health lives with your dentist. Information about your heart health lives with your cardiologist. And it can be very, very difficult to get this healthcare data up out of all these individual silos to create a universal and holistic picture of a patient. If you've ever tried to get medical records sent from one provider or one office across town to another, you know how difficult that can be just to get data sent from one silo to another. Well, if there was a way that we could store all this data in one common repository where someone else wasn't the owner or custodian of it, but where you were, this could benefit us all. You would have a much greater degree of control over who sees or doesn't see your data, what they're allowed to do with it, and what, if anything, you ask in exchange for sharing that data. But more importantly, when it comes to healthcare, you may get better care when you need it the most. Think about traveling halfway across the world, hopping on a plane and flying for 16 hours and arriving at your destination, and unfortunately falling ill when you get there. Now, while I certainly hope this doesn't happen to any of us, if it did, and we had our data stored on a medical blockchain, we would be able to consent to share our full medical data with the doctor or physician who is treating us. They would be aware of any allergies we have, any pre-existing conditions, any other prescription medications we were taking, etc. And because of that extra information, we would likely get much better care and attention than we would if we didn't have a way to share this data, such as we find ourselves in today. And another area, again, we're only scratching the surface here, but another area where blockchain is really poised to provide revolutionary value is for content creators. I'll tell you a very, very short story that captures this very well. There was an author I spoke to at a blockchain conference several years ago, and this gentleman wrote novels. Now, what he told me about was the typical publishing process and how after he finishes a piece of work, writing his latest novel, on average, it takes between 12 to 18 months between the time he finishes his work and the time that one of his fans or readers gets to read his newest book. And that 12 to 18 month delay is because of the typical publishing process. Once he finishes his manuscript, it's got to go in for editing and revision. And then the publishing company has to figure out printing and distribution and electronic distribution. And all of this adds a lot of time to the process. Well, he had decided to cut out that intermediary player and to publish his work directly to his fans. By using blockchain, he was able to publish every book one chapter at a time so that every week or two, a new chapter came out. And if you were interested in the book, if you found it compelling and you enjoyed the story, you could simply buy chapter after chapter. If you got halfway through the book and lost interest, you could simply choose not to continue to make those purchases. So rather than having to buy the entire book as one atomic unit, you could just sign up for much smaller pieces. And he said, and I thought this was really impactful, because he was able to get his work into the hands of consumers immediately, he was able to write stories real time, have fictional characters that live in a real world where some celebrity says something on Twitter and a fictional character in a fictional setting is responding to it. And he said that the engagement and the closeness and the connection that this made his fans feel to his work was really, really, really a game changer. Now, blockchain has exploded in value over the last few years. Keep in mind that the modern wave of blockchain really began back in 2015 with the arrival of what we call the Blockchain 2.0 platforms. Prior to this, we just had Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is a great platform for digital money. But it wasn't really a platform that you could build anything on top of. Well, all of that changed in 2015 with the arrival of Blockchain 2.0. Now blockchain became an application development platform, something that we could build and craft great solutions on top of, and really, really create compelling user solutions. So all of this explosive growth that we've seen has really only happened over the last 5 or 6 years. And to give you an idea, blockchain startups last year raised a little over $24 billion globally. That's an amazing amount of growth for an industry that did not exist several years ago. In fact, the blockchain industry is at about $4 trillion annually right now. That's a tremendous amount of growth. And we've seen just over the last year, almost a 7-fold increase in year-over-year value, 690% increase. And this year alone, we're expected to see a 2.2 X growth rate, just over the growth that we've seen over the last year. So this is an area of the market that continues to grow and explode in value. And that's why it's such an exciting thing to be a part of. Blockchain spending continues to grow. Over the next couple of years, we're poised to see an additional $19 billion being spent on blockchain solutions. This is up $6.5 billion from just last year alone. So we are seeing year over year, multi-billion-dollar increases in investment in blockchain tools, solutions, platforms, etc. And to talk about that part of the iceberg that sits under the water, you can see that right now, 81 of the Fortune 100 companies are looking at applying blockchain solutions. This is amazing because this means no matter what part of the market you really want to play in, there really is opportunity out there for you. For example, if you are interested in working for small startup organizations, well, no problem. There is tremendous amount of investment taking place right now in the startup and entrepreneurial side of blockchain. If you prefer to work for more of the larger, more established organizations, you can see some of the logos here on this slide. These are not small or unnamed organizations. These are some of the biggest and most influential organizations out there in the corporate enterprise space. So no matter what type of organization or opportunity you're looking for, whether it's joining a large team and helping to contribute, working in the mid-market size company, or going out there and hanging your own sign and creating the solution of your dreams, there's a space out in the blockchain market for you. Right now, there is a tremendous shortage of talent in the blockchain space. There is far more opportunity in the world of blockchain than we have resources available to go fill that opportunity. In fact, just over the past 18 months, we have seen the number of blockchain or Web3 related job postings increase over 6-fold. I can tell you a very personal story about this. When we started teaching our courses back in 2017, 2018, it was not unusual to go on to a site like LinkedIn and do a search for a blockchain job and see maybe tens of jobs a week. Pre-pandemic in 2018, 2019, it was not uncommon to see hundreds of new jobs being posted every week. Well, today, just to show you how much this has grown, any of you can go on to a site like LinkedIn or Bondex. You could type in blockchain as a keyword and you will see literally thousands of new jobs, not being posted every week, but being posted every day. And these are positions that range all the way from entry level up to senior level, director, or executive positions. And as I mentioned earlier, these positions or opportunities are not exclusively for technical resources, admins, developers, folks like that, but there are also a number of opportunities for non-technical roles as well. It's just as important, heck, it's maybe even more important to have good, solid blockchain knowledge in your non-technical skill sets as well. A great example of this is sales and marketing and business development. Blockchain can substantially change the way that you interact with and engage with customers. How do you communicate your value proposition or the value of your offerings to your customers? Blockchain can have a significant impact on that. So while developers, architects, administrators, and other technical resources are tremendously important, those non-technical roles are very important as well. And there are a number of them available. So if you're interested in the world of blockchain and Web3, my advice to you would be, don't think about changing your skill set or moving away from the things you truly enjoy doing. Take the things you truly enjoy doing and the skill sets that you've spent years crafting and honing and figure out how to apply that into the world of blockchain, because there is an opportunity out there for you. Well, because of this skills gap, I think we all remember basic macroeconomics 101. Think back to the supply demand curve. What happens when there's a lot of demand, but there's very limited supply? Well, the price point is going to move up. That equilibrium point is going to move up the price chart. And a great example of this is if we look at a typical software developer or software engineer role. Based from information taken from talent.com, a typical Web 2 software engineer or developer salary is in the $75,000 to $100,000 a year range. Someone focusing on blockchain, performing the same type of software development skills, using the same languages and tool sets that exist in the Web 1 or Web 2 world, it's not unusual to see salaries in the 120 to 180,000 plus range. So if you're looking to advance your career to that next level, take that next step, get that bigger paycheck or that bigger opportunity, provide a little bit more financial stability to your life or to your family, this can be a great skill set to adopt. And really the point here is not what the specific pay range for a developer is, but that there is a significant delta between someone who has traditional skill sets and someone who can apply the skills that they have into the Web3 world. And so you're going to see similar deltas in pay range and opportunities available for folks who are non-technical but want to get involved in blockchain as well. Now, what are some of the top skills that we see folks trying to fill out there in the marketplace? Well, like I said, we've been very fortunate to partner up and be the education provider for a number of Fortune 500 companies looking to dive into blockchain. And that means not only do we get to educate them on the technology, but they also get to provide education back to us on some of the skills that they're looking for and some of the most in-demand positions that they're trying to fill. And so if we look at some of the top skill sets or roles that organizations are really looking for right now, we can see things like solution architecture. How do I go out and design great blockchain solutions? Now, despite what a lot of fans or advocates of blockchain will tell you, blockchain is not a technology that's going to solve all the world's problems. Blockchain properly viewed is just another tool in our toolbox. And just like any other tools, one tool never replaces another. Tools only complement one another. And so blockchain is just one new avenue that we have to build and craft and deliver great user experiences. So a critical part of being a successful blockchain solutions architect is also understanding the proper application of the technology. When is it appropriate to use it and when is it not? Application development, once you've designed that great solution, how do you actually go out and build and deliver it? What are the parts of the software development lifecycle that are similar or exactly the same from the world of Web 1 and Web 2 versus the areas that are different? So we can talk about developing great consumer applications. If you're interested in working on that top part of the iceberg, the part that sticks above the water, well, there's a lot of opportunity to go build great consumer-facing solutions in the world of crypto, coins, tokens, NFTs, exchanges, and more. But then there's that huge area under the iceberg, the application of blockchain in the enterprise or professional space. What new types of solutions and possibilities avail themselves if we don't have to build on my technology or your technology, but something that we both own and maintain and share together? You know, one way to think of blockchain is IT spending 2.0. What I mean by that is traditionally organizations have spent money on technology because they're expecting a certain set of benefits in return. Things like efficiency, transparency, collaboration, and more. And over the past few decades, all of that spending has resulted in an enormous success. All of us have seen tremendous increases over the past 20 or 30 years in efficiency, effectiveness, transparency, communication, collaboration, and more. But many of those benefits have only really been realized within the organization. And a lot of the friction that we feel out in the marketplace today has to do with the fact that you might communicate, collaborate, be efficient and transparent and effective internally. And I might have all those attributes as well. But for some reason, when we go to work together, we don't communicate very well between organizations. We don't collaborate very well between organizations. And blockchain and Web3 are technologies that can help change that by creating solutions that live on truly shared IT infrastructure. Of course, like any new revolutionary technology, security is a big component of this as well. Because blockchain offers such radically different architecture from the client server world that we're used to, understanding how to create good, safe, secure solutions at the client level, at the application level, at the protocol level, and at the network layer are very, very important. It's not just enough to go out and build great blockchain applications. You also have to make sure they're safe and secure and reliable for your users. And blockchain cybersecurity experts are one of the most in-demand skill sets that we see right now. Of course, because we're talking so much about sharing our IT infrastructure, bringing together communities, extending service offerings into parts of the world where they do not traditionally exist. Managing your community and your users is a critical component of that as well. And this is a great example of some of the non-technical opportunity that exists in the blockchain or Web3 space. How can you really go out and build a cohesive, sticky community of users who can add value and help work together to collaborate? That doesn't involve being a coding expert. That doesn't involve highly technical knowledge. That's understanding how the technology changes the way that people interface and communicate with one another. So if you're less interested in the technology, but more interested on the impact the technology has on people, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to build and craft and maintain communities in the Web3 space. And of course, as I mentioned, there's also a lot of need for sales and business development folks who understand how this technology is changing the way that we communicate with our customers, how we deliver our value propositions and our services, the type of transparency that we can provide to our customers so that they can feel more safe and secure about the offerings that we're putting out onto the market. And of course, we're only beginning to scratch the surface here, but hopefully you're starting to see that there is a lot of opportunity out there, no matter what your background or skill set is. Now, of course, probably the hardest thing in all of blockchain is just staying up to date. This is a very dynamic and fast-moving community. And staying up to date can sometimes be difficult when things are moving so fast. So in addition to our great educational products, how can you stay up to date and learn more about what's happening in the blockchain Web3 space? Well, one of the best areas to stay up to date is by using LinkedIn. And the reason I'm such a big fan of LinkedIn is because it's a very diverse community that has people from all different backgrounds and skill sets coming together and talking about blockchain. So you don't just get thoughts about blockchain from the perspective of a developer or a programmer or another highly technical resource. You can see how blockchain is affecting sales and business development, human resources, operations, executive leadership, etc. You can get a much more holistic picture from different roles and skill sets from people at different points in their careers. And that makes it a really, really good discussion platform to jump onto. Now, there are a number of really good content creators on LinkedIn. And if anyone is interested about certain areas of the blockchain marketplace, I'd be happy to point you to specific content creators on the platform who really focus on different areas of the overall blockchain landscape. As I mentioned, we've been fortunate to have the good folks from the NFT, Edge of NFT podcast with us today. This is really, really a great podcast. These guys put on an absolutely tremendous show, focusing on the world of coins, tokens, NFT, the crypto space. So if you're really interested in learning more about that, like I said, unless you've been living under a rock the past couple of years, you certainly have heard about NFTs and the huge impact that they have had and continue to make in the world. Now, of course, I will not give away all their good secrets, right? You'll tune into the podcast and learn a lot more about that. But we are only starting to explore some of the amazing potential of NFTs. Not only are they a great way for content creators to be able to sell and market their work, but there is enormous future potential in the NFT space for tracking awards, milestones, certifications, achievements, and more. And outside of that, there are a number of good newsletters and online communities, such as various subreddits, Discord servers, etc. Again, once you find that area of blockchain that really interests you the most, I would encourage you to reach out to us. And we can point you to some of those really, really good resources. Now, a little bit about our offerings, and I'll tell you later about the special promotional deals that we have running today if you do want to jump in and learn more about this. But sometimes just getting started in a new area can be the biggest step or the most difficult part of all. Well, we have 6 different certifications, from business foundations to solution architects, blockchain project manager, developer, and security courses to help you get started. You know, in lieu of experience, it can be very helpful to have a certification that is recognized and sought after by industry to show that you have these skills. And so if you're trying to figure out how to get started, how do I demonstrate to a potential employer, to my current employer, to potential investors or startup founders that I have the skill sets to really be able to jump in and add value, well, certification from Blockchain Training Alliance can be a great way to do that. When I talk in just a few moments here about some of the special deals that we have available today, you'll see that not only will you be able to jump in and take some of these courses, but if you want to prove your expertise by acquiring a certification, you'll be able to do that as well. how else can you jump in and participate in the world of blockchain? Well, there are a number of good communities out there. Again, I'm a little bit biased, but Discord is a great resource. And we here at Blockchain Training Alliance have created a very vibrant, dynamic, and active Discord community that we would love to invite you to and have you all be a part of. You can join professional networks like Bondex, who we'll hear from in just a moment, and collaborate with other folks working in the space or other folks looking to get into it. Share stories about what has worked and been successful, what is not, where are the areas where blockchain is really having an impact in the short, mid, and long term. Get yourself educated just by collaborating and sharing ideas with other folks. Of course, now that the world is beginning to move on from COVID and life is slowly returning to normal, there are a number of events and trade shows that are taking place. The good folks from the Edge of NFT podcast a few months back sponsored the NFT LA show. Really great opportunity. Get out there, meet some people, have face-to-face conversations. Of course, Zoom is a great tool for collaborating and sharing ideas, but it is no replacement for face-to-face human communication and interaction. So just getting out there, meeting some folks, making some new friends, and sharing stories with them can be a great way to network and meet other blockchain professionals. Meetup.com is another great area, another great resource for finding folks in your local area to go out and share ideas, stories, opportunities with. So check and see, hey, is there a local meetup or a group or a club? Oftentimes you can find out about new blockchain jobs or opportunities before the rest of the world. And this can give you a great leg up on your potential competition. And last but not least, you might just want to roll up your sleeves. If you've got a really great idea for a blockchain solution, it really is hard to overstate how much of the blockchain world is still white space right now. You can go out, you can find the area that interests you the most and plant your flag and become that expert. Get that first mover advantage. Be the first one to market. We talked a lot a few slides back about this idea of blockchain allowing you to own your own data and the potential ramifications that might have in an industry or vertical like healthcare. Well, there's a lot of interest in something like that, but no one to date has really figured out the best way to do something like that. We kind of have a fuzzy idea what it might look like, but there's still a lot of details to be worked out. And to me, this is what makes blockchain and Web3 such a fascinating area to get involved with. Every other technology personally that I've worked with is one where all the answers were already defined. I showed up to the party late. By the time I did, everyone had already developed all the standards, the rules to follow, the do's and do nots, the patterns and anti-patterns, and the best practices. It's pretty exciting to think that if you jump into the world of blockchain right now and you make a significant contribution, years from now, there may be a best practice that has your name attached to it. That might be how you really leave your mark, professionally speaking, on the world. So if you're interested in learning those skills that you're going to need to roll up your sleeves and go make your great dream a reality, well, we'd love to help be a part of that educational process for you as well. But like I said, we've been fortunate enough to have some guests today who can talk a little bit about some of these ideas and concepts and the impact that blockchain has had on their life. First and foremost, I want to introduce Mr. Lawrence Lanoff. Lawrence is a student of ours who's gone through some of our classes and can tell you a little bit about how blockchain has really helped him, some of the value that he got out of the course material and what he's been able to do with that newfound knowledge. So Lawrence, first I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It was really an honor to have you here. Why don't you start off and just tell everyone a little bit about your background and how you got interested in blockchain and kind of how this whole journey started for you.
Well, first, Kris, I just want to say thank you for inviting me here. It's great. You have been truly a phenomenal mentor for me in this space. And I stumbled into blockchain a lot like you super early on and probably missed the wave like 3 different times, which is hilarious. But I, the entire time, knew that this was the place because I had lived through Web 1 and Web 2 and kind of didn't really have a chance to take advantage of those in the fullest way. So when I, like you, saw Web3 going on, it's like, man, this is incredible. I'm very much a big thinker in this space and have, I don't know, I've probably done 13 startups or something. I mean, ridiculous, and have always worked for myself. So I saw this and I've been through Web 1, Web 2, and I was like, I am on this thing. I'm going to hold this like a bulldog. And the only problem with that is that there is not a lot of great training material in this space. And because of that, I've found myself having to supplement skills through trial and error, and also just kind of randomly searching for materials and classes that were not well structured. So when I found myself in this cycle, especially around NFTs, about 2.5 years ago now, I had looked at the space and I was like, I think NFTs are going to be the next thing, and started building an NFT company. And in that, I realized, as you do very quickly, that there are skills missing, you know, and I was like, where on earth am I going to go to figure out those very important knowledge gaps that A, need to be identified and B, need to be filled? And fortunately, I found BTA and found you all. And I was like, oh, this has just been everything. So I have been deep in your courses now since NFTLA, which, speaking of which, you know, the Edge of NFT company and NFTLA, that was a face-to-face place where we had the chance to meet and connect. And that face-to-face was, it gave me such a sense of peace and well-being. And I was like, this is exactly what I have been looking for, and picked up one of the bulky courses and have just been going through it diligently. And really, it's just been an absolute career game changer. So that is how I arrived here. And I can't thank you enough for your skill, your mastery in understanding blockchain and all of these skills. I really just such a complete understanding from talking about Hyperledger and just how blockchain fits in general, how actual blocks of the blockchain work. I mean, this is just understanding at such a fundamental level is just beyond words, and getting hands-on experience doing it is incredible. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. You know, it's feedback like this that makes me realize every day I truly have the best job in the world. So thank you for those kind words, Lawrence. Let me ask you, because you know you're down an education path that maybe a lot of folks here today are thinking about starting down. Have there been any big surprises along the way? Anything along this learning journey that you didn't know, or you walked away and made you realize that maybe the space was a little bit bigger or different or more diverse than you were thinking?
Well, I mean, honestly, that's every day. I mean, pretty much every module, I am sitting there going like, wow. And I think that's what I love about the courses so much. It's just your level of being able to articulate ideas, and just clearly this kind of holographic understanding you have of the space means that pretty much every module opens up something where I'm like, oh, wow, I did not know that, or wow, oh, I could do that. And I've been, you know, currently consulting quite a few projects and deciding where I wanted to put my energy next, and having the breadth of understanding, because that is literally every day. Even on this, in this session today, I was like, oh, wow, well said, Kris, well said. So, I mean, pretty much I have an epiphany with every module every day.
That's awesome. You know, I had a very similar experience, and that's what really got me addicted to blockchain is I kind of came into it and said, well, this is just another new technology, and I'm a technical guy. Let me learn about it. And as you start to dive deeper into blockchain and Web3, you really do realize that there's no aspect of human existence that is going to remain untouched or unaffected by this technological revolution that's taking place right now. So Lawrence, I can't thank you enough for your kind feedback and your kind words. Hopefully, if folks are considering starting down this educational journey that you find yourself on, they feel a little bit better about taking that risk and diving into these waters, because we need more folks like you. We need more folks who are excited about this and willing to go out there and make some contributions to the blockchain space and really help us build a new and different world. Because I think regardless of where we are, the one thing we can all agree on is we are very much as a global society in a period of transition right now. And, we need great minds and thought leaders like yourself to go out there and affect great change. So thank you for your kind words, Lawrence. And I really, really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you, Kris. I'll see you.
You bet. Take care. Take care. So next up, we've talked a little bit about Bondex. Bondex is a relatively new organization looking to really build a community for folks looking to dive into the blockchain and Web3 space. And we're also fortunate enough today to be joined by Ignacio Palomera. He is the founder of Bondex, and I'm not going to steal his thunder. Ignacio, thank you for joining us today. And why don't you start off, just tell us a little bit about Bondex and your vision and how all this got started and what you guys are doing. Give us your plug, my friend.
For sure. And first, let me start by saying, Kris, that was an incredible session. I love the way that you explained it. So much history that I was not aware about the origins of blockchain and the first use of decentralization. I did not know it goes back that way. It takes someone and a company like yours to really explain things in such an incredible way. So thank you for that session. And thank you for having me. So I'm the co-founder of Bondex. I left a career in traditional finance, in investment banking and private equity, and ended up in HR tech, and then in blockchain HR tech. So I kind of left the dark side, took the red pill, and now I am fighting for the freedom of the internet, as I would like to call it. Bondex goes a little bit beyond just blockchain, and it also encompasses talent and talent infrastructure for the whole of Web3. That's meaning that would also include metaverse, gaming, as well as NFTs, crypto, blockchain infrastructure, DeFi exchanges. It encompasses basically all of the components that make for this new wave of the internet. And the opportunity here, or why we started Bondex, was that we saw that the talent marketplace, or the talent markets in general, are plagued by a lot of middlemen who extract a lot of rents and extract a lot of value for the value that they provide. That goes from your traditional professional network to headhunters. And we saw that, the blockchain offered a new type of token incentivization or token economy model that disintermediated that and allowed for peer-to-peer talent exchange and a better trust infrastructure for people to exchange their talent and time for money and compensation for companies around the world. So that's really the mission for Bondex, is to disintermediate and create a new form of professional network. I hate to compare it, and I know you said that you love LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn has a lot to be improved, and that's what we're aiming to do. But we're not just iterating on a Web2 company and trying to make it better by tokenizing it. We're really shaping and shaking the mold of what a professional network is. We want to make a more ethical form of social network. I think Web2 started as a wonderful idea with a great ethos. They stormed the castle. They wanted to offer services and democratize things and connect people. But once you storm the castle and you realize that data is worth more than oil, you have difficulty letting go of that. And so the value flow of Web2 is sort of monetizing that data and exploiting that data, as you were saying. So a lot of times people are using tools like LinkedIn or Indeed or Monsters, and they think that they're getting a free product, but in reality, is their data that's the product. They are the product. And it's funny because hiring data in general is it fastly decays, and it's usually very obsolete, which leads to very long hiring cycles. And all these middlemen are just making it more difficult for people and opportunities and companies to connect with each other. They're making these hiring cycles more expensive and for them to be more lengthy. because of this stale data and low engagement. And that's because of a lack of incentives and stickiness. So we've created a professional network that combines gamification and tokenization, so earning mechanisms and staking mechanisms, to create a real meritocracy and a peer-to-peer exchange of talent. And to give you an example of one of the tools that we're kind of revolutionizing it with is, tokenization, gamification, education is a big component. That's why we've partnered with you guys to provide lots of good content and materials and education as a great lever of conversion and adoption to increase the supply of talent. Right now, the demand for jobs and talent in Web3 is here, as you've mentioned, and it's not just technical roles, but across the board, anything that a startup or a large company will need, from business development to sales, accounting, finance, everything else, but the supply is here. So right now you have this arbitrage in which getting Web3 skills or transferring your current traditional skills with a Web3 interest into a career in Web3 that can be very profitable for someone. And one of the ways that we are kind of, we're calling it, and to explain in summary what Bondex is we're decentralized talent. We're a protocol when people can network, learn, and refer to earn. And what I mean by that is that we want to decentralize hiring by turning everyone into a recruiter. So a lot of times people miss out on monetizing their network, and companies have to pay very high fees to middlemen to find talent as gatekeepers. So instead of going from that model back from our professional days in finance, referrals were a very powerful way of recruiting people for teams. So, but this would be internal. So what we want to do is release pervasive network effects, and companies in Web3 are very kind of native to bounties and rewards of that type. So instead of, let's say, paying a recruiter 30% of someone's yearly salary, a recruiter like a Solana or a Dapper Labs, or could offer, let's say, 10K of Solana, $10,000 worth of Solana for someone to find them a VP of marketing. And then 20 people within the Bondex network can then stake $100 of Bondex tokens to make a referral from their network. So essentially, you're turning everyone into a recruiter. The way this would work is the company would consider this to be a good or a bad referral. If it was a bad referral, you would lose your tokens. We would then have a second filter the company has asked to see if it's really not relevant before someone burns their tokens. Then if someone gets moved to their interview process, that person that referred that person would mine a little bit from the reward pool. And the person who would make the most amount from the reward pool is that person who made the referral that got hired. So companies are only paying on performance. And this really kind of incentivizes people. One, this incentivizes spam and noise, and then incentivizes people for high quality recruitment and hiring, and for people to kind of monetize their network. In a way, Uberizing recruitment, because everyone, just like black cab drivers kind of dropped their black cab drivers companies and people started using their cars as a supplement their income, now everyone can become a recruiter. And good recruiters can stop paying the fees to the recruitment agency they work for. And that's it for me on a not so brief explanation of what we're up to at Bondex and what we're doing. And look out for us. Sign up and download the app. It's a gamified, tokenized way of making your professional profile and persona. And we'll be releasing our job portal in September, and we're a revenue sharing and utility token. So the more the value that you add to the network in the form of your data and referring candidates and like validating your skills and credentials, the more you will own of the network and the more revenue you will share over time from the ecosystem.
That is just amazing, Ignacio. And you said a couple of things there that really stuck out to me. The first one, fighting for the freedom of the internet. Wow. Boy, what a great mission. Right? How many people get to say that they go to work every day and they get to work on something as ambitious and significant as that? So hats off to you for really, really having that big vision. And the other thing you said that really stuck out to me is data is more valuable than oil. And I think in a world where we're all seeing prices at the pump continue to go up, that has an extra special ring to it. I think it really speaks very well to the incredible future and the potential in this space. Ignacio, let me ask you, because of your role in what Bondex does and your journey into the world of blockchain and Web3, for folks who are working back in a Web 1, Web 2 space and are maybe looking at all this and find it interesting, but maybe slightly intimidating or overwhelming, do you have any words of advice for them? Is it really as scary as it looks from the outside, or have you found your entry into the world of blockchain and Web3 to be something manageable? And any advice you might have for folks looking to kind of complete the same journey that you all have?
So my advice would be to go to companies like BTA and companies that are offering reliable sources of information that are more formalized and structured education. Why do I say this? Because as fun as crypto Twitter and Discord and engaging those channels can be, that will make it overwhelming and scary. And this is because they are actually founded on Web 2 social media structures, which are not really ethically based. They're more about, engagement and triggering your dopamine and kind of being addictive. And that's part of also what we want to do, is create in Bondex less noise and less spam, and focus more on quality and education and jobs and skills. And so my advice would be to find the BTAs out there, or only BTA, because it's the highest quality educational content that I found out there. Because otherwise it can be a bit overwhelming, but there's nothing wrong with any curiosity. There's there's a wealth of public knowledge out there. I just wouldn't recommend anyone going down the YouTube rabbit hole or, crypto Twitter or noise and overwhelmed, because that's how you get lost and you end up being confused more than informed. So find the people that have the right incentives. There's a lot of noise in crypto, a lot of excess. That's what we've, now it's not cooling down. And you see, oh, this coin is going to go to 1 million. And that's just noise. You want to go to really education. You want to go to skills. You want to go to BTA. That's my advice.
Well, that's awesome. And again, I would reinforce what you said, encourage everyone, go download the app, follow what these guys are doing. This really is a game changer, and it speaks to the importance of community and personal connections in this space. If all of us become the recruiters and all of us have a stake in that, well, it just makes your own professional network and connections all the more significant and all the more important. So Ignacio, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing with us your incredible mission statement. Again, fighting for the freedom of the internet. Who wouldn't want to be a part of something as amazing as that? Hats off to you for the great work that you're doing, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Chris. And yeah, I encourage everyone to go check out at bondex.app and download our beta app and join a community that's supposed to be 1 million users in the first year of existence. So we're the leading and largest Web3 professional network. So I encourage everyone to start adding value and participating, as it's essentially like owning a little piece of the next LinkedIn that will disrupt the LinkedIn in the future. Thank you for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, if we had a time machine, who wouldn't want to go back in time and make an investment in something like LinkedIn? It's this huge platform. So yeah, here's your opportunity. Well, thank you again, Ignacio. And last but not least, I want to introduce Mr. Ethan Janney. Ethan is one of the co-hosts of the Edge of NFT podcast. Also, these guys were headline sponsors of the recent NFT LA show. These guys, it's really hard to overstate their expertise in the space, the quality of the product that they put out there. I listen to every new episode, sign up for alerts, and can't wait to dive into the next episode. So Ethan, welcome. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the podcast? How did all this get started? What made you got interested in NFTs, and even more, what kind of encouraged you to go out there and do the podcast and start spreading the good word of blockchain onto others?
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to be here, Chris. Thanks for that wonderful presentation. I don't know that I had heard much about the island of Yap before, for example, and it's kind of really fun to get all that context and see how you frame things up for folks. Really, really fun stuff. Okay, that was a loaded question. You asked what was my background, what brought me here, what made me want to start the podcast, all this stuff. So I'm just going to jump in. my background is varied, and it's almost surprising when I say it out loud to people. I mean, been in so many domains, from music. I have an undergraduate degree in piano, jazz piano performance from Rutgers University, to neuroscience. I have a PhD in neuroscience from the City University of New York, where I studied the songs of birds and how they produce their songs and the neuroscience of that topic. I've been an entrepreneur for many years as well. And there's probably some other crazy things I'm not including. But, that's part of why the blockchain and NFT space has been so appropriate for me. I think you mentioned it earlier, and it's been mentioned a few times. It's touching all these different areas of our lives. And in a sense, it's integrating areas of our lives that haven't been integrated before, or it's bringing areas to the forefront that haven't had so much, haven't had the type of facility that I've had before. Like a really great example is that things are happening in NFTs for artists and creators, and the way that they're able to not just monetize the initial sale of something, which is also a new way that people are monetizing digital art and things like that, but have sort of a recurring stake in the resale of their work, through programmatic royalty rewards that are baked right into the sale of an NFT for their art, things like that. So that underlies, I think, especially for me, the NFT space. Since I'm technical, since I'm creative, since I'm entrepreneurial, these things all come together quite magically in specifically the NFT space, and then blockchain surrounds that. The question of how, when, why do we start the podcast? What's the story behind that? Actually, I have to give credit to Ron Levy from the Blockchain Training Alliance and the crypto company, for someone who was an advocate of blockchain and everything going on, and creating sort of these groups where people could collaborate and get to know each other and get to learn things like that. And I've met a partner through some of the groups that he had been participating in, and that was Josh Krieger, who became the co-founder of the Edge of NFT podcast. And, it really all just started with me saying, this NFT thing. And of course, this was like almost 2 years ago at this point, when nobody really even heard of NFTs, right? I had just started hearing about it, but I heard a lot of smart people talking about it. So I felt like something interesting was coming here. And I said, it doesn't look like there's really an NFT podcast. I had been in the podcasting space, and I knew the power and potential of podcasting. So I said, anybody interested in starting a podcast in NFTs? Josh jumped at the opportunity. He's someone who has co-founded with our other co-host, Jeff Kelly, $100 million company in food tech. It's food prep and delivery services called Territory Foods. So super successful guys that I just kind of got thrown together with in exploring this NFT space. And the podcast took off right along with NFTs and blockchain over the past 18 months to 2 years. So I don't know, education is so important to me, and it's so important to all of us on this call, me, Jeff, and Josh as well. And a podcast is a really incredible opportunity to get live, in-person, top quality education while educating other people, and networking with guests. It's such a powerful platform. And so interestingly enough, from starting a podcast from nothing in March of 2021, we built enough power and momentum to be able to host a large scale event, which you mentioned previously, NFTLA, just 1 year after launching that podcast. And so I think, what we're trying to communicate to people on the call today is the incredible potential in blockchain right now. And if you even so there's multiple ways where you can look at our story and see that potential. One is in the growth of our own endeavor, that we were able to kind of start from nothing and build this large scale event. We thought 2,500 people would attend, 3,500 people attended. We didn't know who we would get as speakers and guests. We got Mark Cuban, we got Steve Aoki. We had all these celebrities and powerful people jump in. We had Andrew Wang, former presidential candidate. And so, that growth is possible for a lot of people in this space, especially if you kind of feel a calling to a connection, something is intriguing you about it. And then on top of that, as Lawrence mentioned, and you also mentioned, Kris, NFTLA in and of itself is a great catalyst for people to find ways to participate, to meet other people, to just learn, kind of get their feet wet, get their foundations in NFTs. And I think one thing that, what you guys are so great at, I see, you bring up the top 100 companies and show that 80%, 80% of them are doing something interesting with blockchain. We've got companies like IBM and other just like household names. And there's so much going on in enterprise. But I think one thing that we haven't talked about a lot lately is like there's so much going on, especially in NFTs, in entertainment and the arts and the creative pursuits. And so I would really love to highlight, just because it's been a little bit underrepresented on the call here, is like this creator economy is something that I've been hearing about since 10, 15 years ago, when I heard Sal Khan of Khan Academy do a little opinion video about how, robots are going to take our jobs, AI is coming. What do we have uniquely as humans? And it's our creativity, and this creator economy is coming, where people aren't just going to learn rote skills and apply them, but they're going to have to apply their human potential as a creator. And NFTs are really underlying that. And so when you come to an event like NFTLA, we were able to, create a magical experience where it's not only educational and wrapped into enterprise, and you have all these, power players in business and finance, but it's also like fun and there's entertainment going on, and you can spend your day networking at the conference, or you can network, at like an immersive augmented reality dome show with Steve Aoki in the evening time, which, by the way, is when a lot of incredible business deals happen, just kind of hanging out in the evenings, relaxing a little bit, but still continue to talk about business and deal making and things like that. So I don't know, I invite people to come check out NFTLA next year. We've just announced that it's in March 20th to the 23rd of 2023. Try to say that 5 times fast as a little tongue twister there. But yeah, we'd love for people to come out and start networking and being engaged. And we've always been a partner with the crypto company. As I said, Rod Levy has been a huge supporter of ours since the very beginning, and has been a supporter of NFTLA, speaker at NFTLA. And so, yeah, we invite you guys to come out. I'll put some links in the chat here, which I think, you can pick which one is useful to you, or find them all. The first one is you can pre-register for NFTLA. There's no expenditure required at the moment, but ticket prices went up quite significantly over time, just as the nature of economics. So if you want to get on the whitelist early, you'll get the earliest price tickets. I encourage you to grab those. We have an NFT project, and we always kind of give people in exclusive environments like this access to the whitelist for that NFT project. So if you're interested in that or into NFTs, that one is going to be, it's a living tree NFT project. We have going to plant over 100,000 real trees as part of this project. They're tree kind of art, a generative art NFTs. You'll learn more about it if you kind of continue to follow us, but you can get on the whitelist for that. You can subscribe to the Edge of NFT newsletter. We put out that every 2 weeks at the moment. That'll give you some updates on what's going on with us. And also, if you just want to subscribe to the podcast, that's a nice way where you can just go for a bike ride, wash the dishes, work out, whatever, and still be learning interesting things about the NFT and blockchain space.
That's awesome. Ethan, I love that story, of how you got here, because I think it captures a couple important points that I hope folks take away, which is, you'd worked in some technical spaces before, but you were not someone who was a heads down software developer, coder, just moving from the Web 2 to Web 3 world. But yeah, you guys have been able to team up, create, in my opinion, a biased opinion, but in my opinion, probably hands down the best blockchain crypto event that I've personally been a part of. And also one of the world's leading crypto themed podcasts. So it really does, I think, serve as an example that no matter what kind of background you come from, the barriers to entry are very low. We really need people. The more diversity we get in terms of skill set, backgrounds, thoughts, opinions, cultures, etc., the greater off we all are as a community. And I think your story really speaks well to that. And the other thing I really love about the story of you and Josh and the podcast is how, you guys just saw this white space. Hey, there's really a need for this good information, compressed down into an easily consumable form. Nobody else is doing it. Let's just go plant our flag. And now we've got one of the world's top rated podcasts. And because of the success that you've had with that first year that you decide to launch an event, you're getting names like Mark Cuban and Andrew Yang. That really is, I think, just an amazing testimonial to the incredible opportunity that exists out there right now. So hopefully if anyone is attending here today and thinking, well, all this sounds interesting, but I don't know if there's a place for me, well, hopefully hearing the story of what you and Josh has done has really helped to change their mind. So let me ask you
one thing I'll add real quickly. If you listen to the show lately, I think it's coming through as we're meeting a lot of people lately. We are kind of asking, hey, the crypto markets are down. What's your thoughts about that? How do you feel? And in a lot of the domains we're at, it's really, there's these real authentic builders that are just excited, and they're sort of the best kind of enthusiastic about things. And if you ask them, people who've had a lot of experience in this space, now is the time to get in, get your head down, get started building. There's plenty of money. There's been a lot of investment in the space, to get funding to do some really great stuff, get a job, create a project, whatever. So we're hearing that over and over again. It's a great time to get in.
100% agree. Just like the internet has seen a few ups and downs, and so is the world of Web 2. Well, Web 3 is no different. And I wholeheartedly agree that, this is such a great time to be getting involved, because anytime the market takes a dip, the folks who aren't so committed to it or aren't necessarily in it for the long haul, they kind of wander off and find their next thing. And the community becomes even more passionate and even more committed. So wholeheartedly agree with your analysis there, Ethan. So thanks for sharing those resources. I know that we, Blockchain Training Alliance, we will definitely be at next year's NFTLA show. So if you want to stop in and meet some of us personally, meet other folks in the blockchain community or blockchain space, that is a great way to do that. I think one of the most amazing things about blockchain is that I have not met anyone in the blockchain Web3 space who is ambivalent about what they do. Everybody in this space shares the passion that Ethan and Josh and Ignacio and Lawrence have for this technology. And to someone like me, anyway, that is very, very contagious. That enthusiasm spreads, and it's just really fun to be in a community where everyone loves what they do all day. And you guys have done a great job capturing that on the podcast and also sharing that with the larger community by putting on such a great event. So thank you very much, Ethan, for joining us today and sharing a little bit of your story and your narrative with us.
Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
You bet. So if you've gotten excited about anything that we've talked about, well, you're lucky that you joined us today, because we have an exclusive one-day deal going on. This is good for today and only today, but we have two different bundles, course bundles, if you want to learn more about blockchain. The first is our blockchain business bundle. So if you're coming at this from the more non-technical end, you really want to understand how is blockchain going to have an impact on my business, maybe the organization that I work for, or the organization that I want to go out there and start and build and craft with my own hands. Well, this is the bundle that you want to take a look at. This bundle Comes with over 30 hours of on-demand courses and lessons, meaning you can go through at your own pace, as fast or as slow as you want, accommodate your schedule or what you have going on in your life. These 30 hours of education consist of 7 courses, and we talked about those 6 certification exams that we offer. Well, 3 of those, the half that are focused less on technology and more on the application of technology, are included in this as well. So you're going to learn things about how blockchain can transform business. Why is this such a significant technology? What is the potential out there? Of course, when we talk about blockchain, we're not just talking about one platform. You know, anytime you mention blockchain, most people kind of naturally gravitate towards Bitcoin, but there are a number of different platforms that focus and specialize on different things. And so you'll learn about, if you have an idea or a goal or initiative, what might be the right blockchain platform to help support that. You'll learn about how to successfully deliver a blockchain solution. What does a blockchain project look like? What are the parts of the overall project management methodology that are different in the presence of blockchain and Web3? And, you know, what are the points that are the same, the classic and timeless principles? So you learn not just about how the technology works and where to use it, but also how to apply it to actually deliver real world value to your customers, clients, stakeholders, partners, investors, and more. You'll learn about tokenization, how tokenized solution models can potentially radically change the end user experience that you're delivering to your customers, users, potential customers, and more. If you want to learn more about NFTs and how they might be used, like I said, we're only just beginning to scratch the surface in NFTs. Ethan talked about the amazing potential that non-fungible tokens offer to content creators. And of course, there's an amazing future for NFTs in the world of tracking certifications, milestones, achievements, and more, where you can learn not just about NFTs and how they work, but also some real world use cases and applications. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we talk about blockchain as being a component in this basket of technologies that we collectively refer to as emerging tech. And in these conversations, one tends to naturally think of blockchain as being a peer to things like IoT, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and more. But in truth, blockchain often serves as a foundational layer on which some of these other technologies can be applied. So if you want to see how great IoT solutions can be enabled by using blockchain and Web3 decentralized technologies, we'll cover that as well. So you get a lot of value, a lot of great skills at the end of this 30 hours. And if you purchase this bundle today and today only, you can have this for $559. Just an absolute incredible value. You can see if you were to join us on any other day, go out and purchase this on your own as a bundle, you're going to be spending around $700. So you're getting a really, really good deal. Keep in mind that this is good for today and today only. So if you're interested in this business bundle, be sure to jump in while the waters are hot. If you're more interested in the technical side of things, how do I get hands-on and learn how to go design and craft and deliver great blockchain solutions and user experiences? Well, this is where our developer bundle might be of interest to you. This is 60 hours of course material and hands-on labs. With all of our developer courses, you'll learn about all the basic fundamentals of the technology or the platform, and then you'll get to turn around in a controlled lab environment and actually apply the skills that you've learned to see how to go craft and deliver great blockchain solutions. So if you not only want to learn how this technology works, but get a chance to get hands-on and understand things and the different components and what really goes into crafting a great blockchain solution, this is absolutely the bundle you you want to be taking a look at. This one comes with 5 online courses and the 3 technical certifications. So if you really want to be able to demonstrate that competence and technical expertise when it comes to blockchain, this is the bundle you want to be taking a look at. Throughout these 5 different courses, you're going to learn how and when to apply blockchain. As I mentioned earlier, blockchain is a great technology, but it's nothing more than another tool in your toolbox. So what are the times and use cases and scenarios when you want to apply something like blockchain? What are the use cases or scenarios where it may not make sense? And what many other folks miss is that blockchain is not an all or nothing proposition. So when does it make sense to really build those great hybrid solutions, taking something from the world of old like a database and something from the world of new like a blockchain, and using them in concert to really create a best of all breed solution? Well, you're going to learn about all that and more. Of course, as I mentioned, security is a big component of this. There are a lot of different layers in a blockchain user experience, starting at the client environment, moving down to the application that you build. Of course, blockchains are nothing more than network protocols. So you learn about things at the protocol layer, and then the overall network layer as well. So what are the potential attack vectors, threats, risks? What are some of the mistakes that other folks have made in the past, and how can we avoid making some of these mistakes? It's not just enough to build a great application, but you also need to build a great application that is secure. And in a world where things are moving as rapidly as they are in the world of blockchain, having knowledge about the latest attack vectors, threats, risks, and how you can help to mitigate those, that really is information that's worth its weight in gold. I don't know of anybody who's ever said, hey, in retrospect, looking back on it, knowing what we know now, if we had to do it all over again, we would have built something much less secure. Nobody's ever said that, and I doubt anybody ever will. So these are really, really good skills to adapt. Of course, because you'll be getting hands-on in these developer courses, you're going to learn how to actually code and build and release smart contracts and blockchain applications. So we'll talk not just about the theory and the application of the technology, but actually get you hands-on to take those new skills and apply it and really help cement them into your tool belt. Of course, tokenization is oftentimes a big part of a blockchain solution. So if you've wondered, hey, what does it really take to create my own custom coin or token, or to go out there and mint my own NFT? Well, you'll be able to get hands-on and see exactly what it takes to do that. Maybe you've got a great idea for a tokenized solution or for releasing an NFT, but the only thing standing in your way is you're just not sure how to build one. And because of that enormous skills gap, it's really hard to find anyone out there in the market who could perform that work for you. Well, now you can be self-sufficient. You can learn all these skills, do all this yourself, and maybe turn around and offer that as a service out to a market that is very, very, very thirsty for it. If you're interested more on the enterprise side, you'll learn more about this idea of blockchain and Web3 acting as shared IT infrastructure between organizations. Some of the amazing potential that exists in the enterprise space when we're not building a shared solution on my resources or yours, but we can collaborate and co-own the platform. This really is the next generation of IT spending and management. You can learn why such significant investments are being made in the overall blockchain enterprise space. And of course, like I keep teasing, you get over 30 hours of hands-on lab experience working with this technology, learning how to go build great solutions. And again, we've got another just amazing deal available for you today, and only today, if you want to purchase this developer bundle. Well, normally that's going to cost you about $800. It can be yours today for $639. But again, that's only if you act today. So if any of this sounds interesting, I would highly encourage you to go out, check out the business or the developer bundle, or both if you're interested and really want to become a well-rounded expert, because we've got some incredible deals available for you. Of course, the great offers don't just stop there. If you use the code career20 when you check out, you'll get 20% off. Now, again, that code is only valid today and today only. But on top of that, We're also offering an additional value add. These courses are great. You're going to learn a lot, but if your learning journey is anything like mine, you're going to find that 99% of your questions are going to come sometime after class, after you finish that last lab. That's when your brain really starts processing it. You think deeply about it. And you start asking yourself all the really interesting or fascinating questions. And so for folks who purchase today and today only, we're going to have 2 exclusive live Q&A sessions, one next month and one in September. Where we'll be able to jump on to a Zoom session like this and just have a nice little working session, interact as a group, ask the questions that you've really been dying to get an answer to, share your ideas with other people who are going along the learning journey. Maybe you've got an idea for a blockchain project or solution, but you're just looking for a little validation. Hey, am I thinking about this the right way? Have I really designed my solution properly? Is blockchain the right technology to use in this sort of application or scenario? Well, these are all great discussions that we can have by having these 2 live 1-hour sessions. Again, these sessions are only available to folks who purchase either one of these bundles today. So a little bit additional value add for those who are interested in having a little one-on-one FaceTime, really talking with myself and some of our other instructors and industry experts to really help your blockchain goals and dreams and initiatives become a reality. So go out there, take advantage of these great deals today and today only. And like I said, I wanted to make sure we left some time here at the end because after talking about all this, I'm sure there are a number of questions that folks are wondering how blockchain can help with your goals, with your future ambitions. Maybe you're just curious about something that got mentioned, or you're only here today because you've been trying to figure out this one specific piece of blockchain. Well, I want to make sure we're using the rest of our time to get those questions answered. So from our end, we have Melissa and Rosa on the line who have been monitoring the chat, looking for great questions, poignant questions that we can answer. So Melissa, Rosa, I'm going to turn it over to you in just a moment. Maybe you've got some good questions from the group picked out. I'll pick one that I just saw pop up right here in chat because I think it's a great one. Miro asked, do I need programming background for the technical package? And that is a really, really great question if you're interested in that developer bundle. And the answer to that is if you're interested in taking any of our developer classes, Miro, you should be someone who is comfortable coding in a language like JavaScript or C+ or C#. Now, that does not mean you have to be a full-time heads down developer. You don't have to be somebody who writes code for a living, but you do need to be comfortable in an IDE doing some very, very light coding. So if you're someone who has some of that experience, maybe those skills have gotten a little bit dusty and you're looking to refresh them, I think you're gonna find that you fit in pretty well. But if you're someone who's never done any programming or development, never written a line of code, you might want to reach out to us and we can point you to some good resources to help you build some of those initial skills first, and then you can jump in. So Rosa, Melissa, like I said, I know you guys have been monitoring the chat, maybe looking for some good questions there. What have you found? Any good questions that have come up that we can answer for the larger audience?
I've been looking through the chat here, Kris, and I don't see anything specific that you haven't covered. Just if people need a programming background, which I think that you covered. We did have someone interested in Hyperledger and just wondering what we offered around Hyperledger.
Absolutely. Yeah. So looks like Sanjay was asking about Hyperledger. Sanjay, if you're interested in Hyperledger, we do have a full 40-hour Hyperledger boot camp that will teach you not only about the administrative side of Hyperledger, how do I design and implement and support the network, but once the network is already in place, how do I build great solutions on top of it? So I would encourage you to take a look at our Hyperledger boot camp course. This is a really, really great way to understand Hyperledger. Hyperledger is currently the world's leading enterprise blockchain platform. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, are. The world of blockchain really is like that iceberg. There's this very large piece, the enterprise blockchain piece, that doesn't get quite the same attention that the consumer side of blockchain gets, but it's a very, very different space to apply the technology. There are very different considerations, and I think if you are interested in Hyperledger, you will be impressed, just as I will, at just how many great avenues of opportunity this opens up for folks in the enterprise space. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. And of course, that is a part of that developer bundle if you're interested in it.
Two more questions, Kris, and one of them I can answer. Someone asked if they're not able to complete the training within the year time, can we extend it, and for how long? We absolutely can extend it. We know that sometimes a year just isn't enough for personal reasons, work reasons. So we create extensions all the time as needed. If you need an additional 6 months or an additional year, we're happy to do that for you. Another question, Kris, that you might be able to answer is, what's the recommended path for a security specialist? So do they need to take the architecture course first, or what would you recommend for a security path?
That is a really, really great question, Melissa. I'm glad you picked that one out. I would say for someone who is familiar with cybersecurity concepts, but new to the world of blockchain, solutions architecture is just a great general level course to take to understand the technology, how it works, when it's properly applied. And of course, if you're really looking to focus in on security, we do have a blockchain cybersecurity course. Now that course kind of picks up where architecture leaves off, assumes you already understand the basics of the technology, how it works, the mechanics. And now we really want to dive in and talk about, okay, what are the security concerns at all 4 layers of the blockchain user experience: the client layer, the application layer, the protocol layer, and the network layer. Specific to blockchain cybersecurity, what we find a lot is many people hyper focus on that application layer, particularly on the smart contracts that are running on the blockchain. And it's critical to make sure that you've got good, safe, secure smart contract code. But if you're only focused on that application layer, you may be missing some very potentially threatening or dangerous attack vectors that exist at some of these other layers. So in that security course, we'll give you a very holistic perspective of the entire user experience stack, not just smart contracts. And of course, talk about lessons learned. What are some of the mistakes that folks have made in the past? How can you avoid repeating some of those mistakes in the future? And if it saves you from, being attacked or losing any value, or just having your application or user experience lose credibility in the eyes of your customers, something like that becomes worth its weight in gold. So great question. I appreciate that. See, do we have any other good ones that we should take a look at?
Yeah, I have one last one here, Kris, and then if anyone wants to ask a question, that would be great. Actually, there's 2 that have popped up, but one is if we have any details or use cases around procurement and supply chain management that's referenced in our courses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Supply chain management or chain of custody solutions are one of the most common applications of blockchain technology. And the reason for that is using blockchain gives us such a rich, detailed, and most importantly, decentralized audit trail. And so that makes it an ideal technological platform to use to build those supply chain or chain of custody solutions. And it really is that decentralized aspect. If you ask myself and someone else to tell a story and we both tell you exactly the same story, well, that's going to come with a lot more credibility than just asking one of us or the other. And that's really, from a technical perspective, what blockchain is able to do in the world of supply chain or chain of custody. So long-winded answer to that great question is yes, absolutely. That is something we spend a lot of time focusing on. Really, really good question.
And then I think the last question here, and if anyone wants to directly ask Kris a question, they can. Are there any blockchain integration and development courses with IoT?
Absolutely. Yes, we have a blockchain course focused, specifically on blockchain and IoT. So if you're interested in the intersection of blockchain and smart devices or the Internet of Things, I would recommend you take a look at that course outline, see if it's addressing some of the topics that you're interested in. If you have any questions about it when you do, reach out, shoot us a message. We'd be happy to provide more information. But blockchain and IoT really is a special marriage. I kind of liken it to peanut butter and jelly. They weren't designed to go together, but when you put them together, you might question, if they really were designed to work together. They just fit together hand in glove. Blockchain really is the enabling layer for great IoT solutions. So if you're really interested in learning more about how these technologies come together and why they provide so much value when used in concert, I would definitely point you to our Blockchain IoT course. That's really a good offering. Like Melissa said, we're free to take any other questions. What I would say is if you have a good question, put it in chat. And that way we don't have 100 people all competing to talk with each other. But we've got a few minutes left. And if anyone has any questions they'd like answered, I'd be more than happy to talk to them. Mian's looking for the course outline. You can find all of our course offerings and detailed outlines of our courses by going to blockchaintrainingalliance.com. And you can look in our courses and you'll see blockchain IoT there. And Mian, like I said, if you or anyone else has any questions, please feel free to reach out, shoot us a message. Another question, do we offer any job placement after completing courses? We do not, but that is why we had the good folks from Bondex on today. They really focus on helping individuals connect with opportunities out in the marketplace, network, meet other resources. So we are purely focused on education rather than job placement or recruiting. But I would highly recommend you download that Bondex app. You check out the community that they're building. That's going to be a great place to go. And of course, traditional avenues for finding opportunities such as Monster, Hired, LinkedIn, sites like that. You're going to see an incredible number of blockchain jobs. Like I said, if you go onto a site like LinkedIn, you do a search for blockchain and you filter it down to just the last 24 hours, you are going to see literally thousands of new jobs every day being posted. So I promise you, if you get the skills, finding the opportunity on the back end of that is going to be the easiest part of the whole journey. That's a really great question. All right, let's see. Any other last minute questions we can address? Sabil's got a good one. Can we use centralized and decentralized technology at the same time in the same project? Absolutely, 100%. It is very common. In fact, I would say more common than not, that once we take blockchain out into the real world, we are combining the new with the old. We are using something like a database and a blockchain together to really provide great value. Databases are great because they offer incredible speed and performance, the ability to index and search over large volumes of data in very rapid amounts of time. You combine that with something like a blockchain that gives you a permanent decentralized audit trail. Well, now you get the best of both worlds. You get the audit trail that databases aren't really well suited to build out and maintain, at least without a lot of additional work and customization. And you also get the speed and performance that blockchain, because of its decentralized nature, just can't match. And of course, in our technical developer courses, we'll talk about a number of those use cases and architectures where you can combine the old and the new together. So some really great questions. Let's see, we're coming up on 2 hours here. So let me just say in closing, thank you to everyone who joined us today. This really was a lot of fun. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to all of you, the attendees, for the great questions that you asked and for just carving out a little bit of time on your Wednesday morning, afternoon, or evening to come learn about this amazing world of blockchain. To repeat what I said earlier, this really is just a wide open field. You can take the skills, the passions that you already have, figure figure out what motivates you and excites you in the world of blockchain, and just go out there and plant your flag. It is nothing but white space right now. The opportunity is virtually unlimited, and we don't know how much longer that's going to be the case, certainly for the near future. But is all that opportunity still available in a year, 5 years, 10 years? Who knows? So jump in right now while the waters are warm. Really make your mark in the world of blockchain. And remember, we've got our specials today and today only. If you want to purchase that business bundle or that developer bundle, not only will you get invited to 2 live 1-hour sessions in August and September, where we can talk back and forth, answer questions, but you'll also get a great education along the way, chance to earn certification, and be able to demonstrate your expertise and your competence to the larger market. So really, really great having all you guys. Thanks for joining us. I see one last question in chat. When is your next webinar? So I may share with friends next time. Well, we're in the works of planning one right now. We still haven't nailed down the next date. We're working with some more guests and speakers and trying to coordinate with their schedules. But keep tabs with us. Follow us on LinkedIn. As soon as we get all that finalized, we will go ahead and share all that information with you guys. And I hope that the next time we do one of these, we can see you guys present. So thank you for joining all of us today. Hopefully this has gotten you excited about the world of blockchain, some of the opportunities that are out there. And hopefully I see you guys in class someday soon. So take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Go enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your week, and good luck as you jump into the waters of blockchain.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You bet.